For years now, a massive war has been raging in the jewelry world. On one side, you've got these glittering natural diamonds pulled from the earth, and on the other, you have these flawless lab-grown diamonds literally created in a reactor. Now, in a battle for billions, you'd think the winner would be, I don't know, a giant mining company or a famous retailer, right? Well, the biggest winner is actually a company most of us have never even heard of, a company that doesn't mine, polish, or sell a single stone.
Okay, so here's the heart of the whole conflict. A lab-grown diamond, it isn't a fake, it's not a knockoff. It is chemically, physically, and visually identical to a natural one. To you or me, they look exactly the same. Even to an expert gemologist, they look exactly the same. And this created a huge, massive crisis of confidence for the entire industry.
And that, right there, leads to the multi-billion-dollar question. I mean, if you can't tell the difference between a stone that costs $10,000 and one that costs 1,000, how can anyone trust what they're buying? This is where our story really gets interesting. So this whole identity crisis, it didn't just confuse people shopping for rings. It created what the market started calling a trust deficit. The very foundation of the diamond business, which is knowing what you're buying, was suddenly completely at risk. A gatekeeper of trust. That's the phrase you need to remember. The market was desperate for an impartial referee, a trusted third party that could look at any stone and issue a final verdict, natural or lab-grown, and what are its exact qualities. All of a sudden, the piece of paper certifying the diamond became just as important as the diamond itself. And right in the middle of all this chaos, one company, the International Gemmological Institute, or IGI for short, made a brilliant, game-changing bet. See, the industry's old guard, the GIA, they hesitated. They actually issued different kind of vague reports for lab-grown stones, almost trying to protect the natural diamond market. But IGI, they saw the future. They went all in. They offered the exact same detailed, comprehensive reports for both types of diamonds. They didn't pick a side, they just got to work certifying. And that single move basically legitimized the entire lab-grown diamond world. So what was the result of that huge bet? Well, look at this. IGI now certifies 65% of all lab-grown diamonds on the planet. They completely, totally dominate the verification of the single fastest-growing part of the entire jewelry market. It's incredible. And here's the key takeaway. They won because they were pragmatic. They weren't trying to be the good guys or the bad guys in the diamond wars. They simply became an essential business partner to the new disruptive players. And in doing so, they earned their loyalty and all of their business. So how does completely dominating a market like that translate into profits? Well, let's take a look under the hood, because this business model is really something else. Probably the best way to think about IGI's business is like a toll booth. See, they don't own the highway and they don't own the cars driving on it. They just sit at a critical choke point, that moment a polished stone needs to enter the market, and they collect a fee from every single diamond that passes through. Natural, lab-grown, doesn't matter. It's a classic picks and shovels play, right? Profiting from the gold rush without having to dig for a single ounce of gold. Now you have to look at this slide, because it really shows you just how profitable that toll booth is. On the left, you see the diamond manufacturers. They operate on these razor-thin 2 to 5% margins. Retailers in the middle do a bit better, maybe 8 to 12%. But IGI, all the way over on the right, their operating profit margins are an absolutely astonishing 50 to 70%. They are capturing more profit than almost anyone else in the entire diamond value chain. Part of their secret sauce is this fancy term, geographic arbitrage. But put simply, it's this. They get paid in strong currencies, like US dollars or euros, but their biggest single cost, the salaries for their expert gemologists in India, is paid in Indian rupees. That difference in currency value is like a built-in profit booster. And this is just operational genius. Instead of making their clients ship incredibly valuable diamonds to some central lab and then wait for weeks, IGI builds mini labs right inside their biggest clients' factories. So a diamond comes off the polishing wheel, it goes down the hall to be graded, and it's ready to ship in a matter of hours, not weeks. The value of that speed is so immense that once a client is set up this way, it's almost impossible for them to switch to a competitor. But, no fortress is perfect. IGI's incredible success story also comes with some pretty significant risks that are just starting to show up. It all kind of starts with this one number, 113 days. That's how long IGI is now waiting, on average, to get paid by its clients.
And what's really worrying is that that number has basically doubled recently.
So, what does that really tell us? It tells us that IGI's customers, the diamond manufacturers, are under a ton of financial stress. And to keep all that volume flowing, IGI is essentially acting like their bank, letting them delay payments way, way out. It's a major red flag that the foundation of their client base might be a little shaky. And on top of that, they face these other major threats. I mean, what happens if lab-grown diamonds become so cheap that nobody bothers to get them certified anymore? What if AI gets good enough to grade diamonds instantly, cutting them out completely? And then you've got geopolitical risks that could mess up their main hub in India. So there's a lot to think about. But here is the most counterintuitive, absolutely fascinating part of their whole business model. Just look at the top line on this chart. A 50% crash in the price of lab-grown diamonds is actually good for IGI's business. Now, why on earth would that be? Well, it's simple. As prices fall, people buy more of them. And more diamonds sold means more volume and more certification fees for IGI. They literally thrive on the democratization of diamonds.
So, with all these risks and these very weird strengths in mind, how does IGI plan to defend its kingdom? And what does the future of trust in the gem trade even look like?
Well, they're evolving their defense. You see, their old moat, their old protection, was physical, just having more lobs and more people than anyone else. Their new moat is digital. Having graded millions upon millions of stones, they now have a proprietary data set that is completely unparalleled in the industry. And this data creates this incredibly powerful flywheel effect. More volume gives them more data. That data trains their AI grading systems to be better. Better AI leads to faster, cheaper service. And of course, faster service attracts even more volume. It's this self-reinforcing loop that makes it almost impossible for any competitor, new or old, to ever catch up. Which really leaves us with the final big question. Is IGI a permanent central bank of trust for the entire gem industry? A durable, long-lasting institution? Or is its wildly profitable model just a temporary anomaly in a market that's about to get turned upside down all over again?